All right, guys. So basically what we're going over now is how to lose fat and the basics of that. Now, I'm going to give you exactly how to calculate your macros and calories to lose fat. So this is literally something that I used to charge a lot of people money for on Fiverr, and I made a lot of money doing. And I also used to do this kind of freelance work on other sites like Upwork and made a lot of money doing. So people charge, for this information. They charge, whether you get into their fitness programs, whether you buy their online course, whether you actually, get personal training or consulting from them, they charge you a lot of money. You don't need to do that. You don't need to pay that. I'm going to teach you all how to do it right here, right now. It's pretty simplistic. So we're going to go over two examples, one for a man, one for a woman, because they vary slightly. And then maybe I'll do another one in the next video. I'll do another, example of a man and a woman in the next video, so you can kind of get a different feel for it. Now, like I said, this is literally something, because this changes. There's no 1A or 1B thing, what way to do it. There's no, you need to do it this way. You're going to need to understand the concept of it as a whole. And that's why I'm going to do it this way, because that way when you're obviously your weight's going to fluctuate and change, your macros are going to fluctuate and change, and that will allow you to really get the most bang for your buck knowledge wise, so that you can continue to adjust this as you go. That will literally give you the best results. So with all that said, now what is the number one way to lose fat? How do you lose fat? What are the basics of losing fat? Well, to lose fat, it's very, very simple. You need to take in less calories than your maintenance calories are. So if you take in less calories than you expend, that's all your maintenance calories are, the amount of calories that you expend throughout the day. So if you take in less calories, 2,000 for example, obviously this is going to change from person to person. If you take in less calories, than you're expending, or that you're basically your maintenance calories, say, well, guess what? That difference is the fat that you're going to lose. Now, there's 2,500 calories in a gram of fat. It might be 3,500. I forget the exact. It's irrelevant. I believe it's 25. Let's actually Google that really fast. Calories in a pound of fat. 3,500. So it's 35. But regardless of that fact, it doesn't really matter. The only thing that you need to know is that you need to take in less calories than you're basically spending throughout the day. So how do you find, that begs the next question, how do you find out how many calories you should take in throughout the day? Well, use a calorie calculator. Now, my favorite, and there's a million of them, is caloriecalculator.net, or just calculator.net. You can literally search caloriecalculator.net on Google, and it'll pop up with this page. But like I said, they're all relatively the same. So the way that I'm going to teach you how to do this, we're going to open up Word, and I'm going to calculate both the macros. So remember, your protein, your carbs, and your fat, to give you the most bang for your buck, as well as your calories. So your overall calories that you want to hit for that day. Obviously, you want to take in those amount of calories for that day consistently over the span of a couple weeks, and then obviously go back and readjust this, because you would hopefully have lost weight if you were following that plan correctly. Now, I'm gonna also give you the macros. Now, a lot of people do macros differently. Some people say, it's 40% of carbs and 20% of this and 30% of that. That's the wrong way to go about it. It's personal for everybody. There's no one, percentage number. So if you need to go back and watch this entire video again, obviously that's good, because then you'll understand the concept, but I just want to kind of run through it fast so that you guys kind of get it. So I'm going to give you two examples. Let's go with a 32-year-old male. Maybe you're 32, you're a male, you're 5'9", you weigh 190 pounds, and you are, relatively sedentary. So then how do you figure out how to lose weight, what the calories target that you want, per day is, as well as the macros? Well, I'm going to teach you. So what you basically do is you put all your info in this. 32, male, 5'9", 190, sedentary, which is little to no exercise, and then obviously you can change that as it, applies to you. And then you calculate it. And it's basically going to tell you right here. So you need 2,163 calories to maintain your weight. Thus, that the number essentially that your maintenance calories are. So if you eat less than 2,163 calories per day, you will obviously lose weight. It's that simple. So how do you figure out how to lose, what your target should be, day to day, so that you can lose that amount of weight fast? Well, I recommend that you take 500 off that number. So you're going to shoot for this 1 pound per week. If you shoot for more than that, if you go to 2 pounds per week, it gets to that point, or even 1.5 pounds per week or anything like that, it gets to that point of unsustainability where it's a lot harder to follow that. So I suggest going 1, even if you want to raise it slightly to maybe, instead of 1663 to maybe 1800, that might actually help you as well, because it's more about consistency and sustainability long term over time. Another thing to keep in mind too is that it's more so about hitting the overall goal. So if you, God forbid, you go over your calorie target for the day, the next day you're not supposed to essentially, make up that calorie target by eating less. You just want to hop back on your plan. It's about consistency and hitting that consistently. Don't beat yourself up. These are goals, just like the macros will be, but obviously the more consistently you hit those goals, the better and faster results you'll see. So like I said, your goal right here is to lose 1 pound per week. So 1,663 calories is going to be your overall daily caloric intake goal. So that's your calories per day. We'll just go per day. And then, so to get this is a male. So males, I always suggest never going, you're losing fat, remember, in this scenario. I never suggest going lower than 60 grams of fat for a male. So we're going to pump in 60 grams of fat. And remember, 60 grams of fat, there's 9 calories per gram of fat. So what's 60 times 9? Let's pull up the calculator. Literally doing all this in front of you so you guys understand. Well, 60 times 9 is 540. So that's 540 calories a day coming from fat, or 60 grams of fat. Then we're going to move down to the protein. I always do fat and protein first. Well, if you go back and you remember, I always like to keep it, he's 190 pounds. I like to shoot for, roughly 1 pound 1 pound equals a gram of protein. But since this person's probably not in great shape and they're losing fat and they're 32 pounds and they're not very active, I'm gonna go a little bit less. But typically speaking, for most people, if you weigh 170 pounds and you're a male, you're gonna wanna go 170 grams of protein. If you're 190 pounds typically, you're gonna wanna go 190 grams of protein. Now if you're a female, go a little bit less, obviously. It's about half a pound, probably like half. So if you're a female and you're trying to lose fat, and we're gonna go through that in a second, and you're 120 pounds, well then guess what? You probably should go a little bit above 60 grams of fat, because that's half of 120. Just something to keep in mind. So, but because this person doesn't seem like they're in that great of shape, I'm gonna go a little bit lower. Let's go with 170. So 170 grams of protein. And 170, remember there's 4 grams per calorie in a gram of 4 calories per gram in a fat gram. I can't talk today. So 170 times 4, and that means 680 calories are going to come from protein, or 170 grams. Now finally, to get your carbs, and this is the same way every single time. So to get your carbs, you are going to basically add up 540 and 680, because they're the calories coming from fat and protein. So 680 plus 540, and that equals 1220. So you're going to take the difference of your caloric day, or your calories per day, minus whatever that number is. So 1663 minus 1220. 1663 minus 1220 means that you're getting 443 calories coming from carbs a day. So 443 calories coming from carbs a day. Well, what does that equate to in grams? We also know that like I said in that previous lecture, there's also 4 calories per gram of carbs. So you want to divide this by 4. It's the same thing with everyone. So roughly, we'll just round that up. We'll say 111 grams of carbs per day. So those are your macros right there. 60 grams of fat per day, 170 grams of protein per day, 11 grams of carbs per day, for a grand total of 1663 total calories per day. And if you eat those calories and as close to these macros as possible, you will obviously do the best that you potentially can while losing fat. So that's the first example. We're going to hop into the next video, and we're actually going to go over a woman's example of how to lose fat too.